All right, I call this regular meeting of the Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Frankfort to order. The village president is absent tonight, and under the Illinois Municipal Code and our village's authority to select an acting chair, the first item of business will be to elect a trustee to serve as acting chair. But first, I will take roll. Trustee Ledden?
Here.
Trustee Savaria?
Here.
Trustee Rigoni?
Here.
Trustee Petro?
Here.
Trustee Borelli?
Here.
Trustee Rossi?
Here.
Attorney Lamore?
Present.
Chief Chalepis?
Here.
Village Administrator Pisha?
Here.
Assistant Administrator Barika?
Present.
And Clerk Schubert is here. So we do have quorum and we'll proceed. So the first business before us is nominations for acting chair for this meeting to serve in the absence of the mayor. Do we have any nominations for acting chair?
Village Clerk,
Okay.
I would nominate Trustee Borelli as acting chair.
Okay. Second, thank you. All right, so Trustee Borelli has been nominated. Hearing no further nominations, I will take the vote. So Trustee Ledden?
Yes.
I'm sorry, the vote is yes to allow Trustee Borelli as acting chair. Trustee Savaria?
Yes.
Trustee Rigoni?
Yes.
Trustee Petro?
Yes.
Trustee Rossi?
Yes.
Okay, all right, motion carries. So Trustee Borelli will act as,
Thank you.
will preside over or take duties as mayor. Go ahead, Trustee Borelli.
Thank you, Clerk Schubert. I, Trustee Borelli, will now preside. At this time, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on our agenda is what is known as the unanimous consent agenda. All items on the unanimous consent agenda are considered routine in nature and will be voted on after a single motion. If any of the trustees want to discuss an item in more detail, we'll simply remove it from the consent agenda and consider it separately. At this time, I'd like to ask any of the trustees if they would like to remove any of the items from the consent agenda.
Acting Chair Borelli, I would not like to remove any items from the agenda, but I would like the record to reflect that my vote on the consent agenda will be abstaining from item C3 and C4 due to my part-time employment with Robinson Engineering.
Thank you, Trustee Rigoni. That is noted. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. We have a motion from Trustee Petro, a second from Trustee Savaria. We want people here in the boardroom and those streaming the meeting online to know more about the items we're voting on, so we'll briefly go over each item. The first item is the approval of the minutes from our March 2nd board meeting. The second item is the approval of the bills, and we'll go to Trustee Savaria.
Thank you, Mayor. So the bills tonight equal $2,414,719.02. This number is comprised of the general corporate fund at $208,554.09. There was nothing for the motor fuel tax fund. For the capital development fund, $950,660.62. The sewer and water operations and maintenance, it was $125,535.90, and sewer and water extension fund was $1,129,968.41, and those are the bills.
Thank you, Trustee Savaria. The next item is the Committee of the Whole report. We'll go to item C1. Trustee Rigoni.
Thank you. The first item is Rough Cut Lot Maintenance Program Bid Award. At its March 2nd, 2026 meeting, the Committee of the Whole reviewed 3 bid proposals for the village's rough cut lot maintenance program. Camp House Country Landscaping LLC submitted the lowest responsible and responsive bid at $0.0049 per square feet for the 2020 mowing season and $0.0050 per square feet for the 2027 mowing season. It was the consensus of the committee to forward a recommendation to the village board to accept the low bid and award the contract to Camp House Country Landscaping LLC. The motion before us is to accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of a 2-year contract with Camp House Country Landscaping LLC for the 2026-2027 rough cut lot maintenance program.
Thank you, Trustee Urgoni. The next item is an exciting one. Go to Trustee Ledden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. So this item is the construction of the 2 Smith Street Garage bid award. The village proposes to construct a detached garage at the west end of the village-owned parking lot at 2 Smith Street to store village event equipment and police equipment serving the downtown area and Old Plank Road Trail. The proposed fiscal year 2026-2027 budget allocates $185,000 for this project. At its March 2nd, 2026 meeting, the Committee of the Whole reviewed 3 bid proposals for construction of the garage, including a concrete pad to accommodate a trash enclosure. Algett Enterprises Group Company Incorporated submitted the lowest responsible and responsive bid in the amount of $150,777. The village staff will complete the exterior stonework, interior finishes, screened trash enclosure, and landscaping using the remaining project funds. It was the consensus of the committee to forward a recommendation to the village board to accept the low bid and award the contract to Algett Enterprises Group Company. The motion before us this evening is to accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract with Algett Enterprises Group Company in the amount of $150,777 for the construction of a detached garage at 2 Smith Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Ledden. For the next item, we'll go back to Trustee Severia.
Thanks. The next item is roadway maintenance program engineering services agreement. At its March 2nd, 2026 meeting, the Committee of the Whole reviewed a proposal from Robinson Engineering to provide the professional engineering services for the village's 2026 roadway maintenance program. The proposed fiscal year 2026-2027 budget allocates $5 million from the General Capital Development Fund for the program. Robinson Engineering will prepare construction plans and bidding documents for the improvements. Engineering fees include 4% of the program cost for design and 4.5% of the final construction cost for the construction engineering services. It was a consensus of the committee to forward a recommendation to the village board to approve the proposal. The committee recommended approval of the agreement. The motion before us is to accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of a professional engineering services agreement with Robinson Engineering LTD for the 2026 roadway maintenance program.
Thank you. Next item, we'll go to Trustee Rossi.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Borelli. As Aberdeen Ridge Bridge replacement, as its March 2nd, 2026 meeting, the Committee of the Whole reviewed proposals for professional engineering services related to the replacement of Aberdeen Bridge over Hickory Creek within the Prestwick subdivision. The bridge recently underwent temporary emergency shoring improvements and will require full replacement. The replacement bridge provided is divided into 2 components. H.W. Lochner submitted a proposal in the amount of $400,755 for structural engineering services. Robinson Engineering submitted a proposal in the amount of $151,000 for design engineering services and coordination of required surveying, wetland, and geotechnical services. It was a consensus of the committee to forward a recommendation to the village board to accept both proposals. The first motion before us is to accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole, adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of a professional engineering services agreement with H.W. Lochner for structural engineering services related to the Aberdeen Bridge over Hickory Creek replacement in the amount of $400,755. The second motion before us is to accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of a professional engineering services agreement with Robinson Engineering for design engineering services and coordination of surveying, wetland, and geotechnical services related to the Aberdeen Bridge over Hickory Creek replacement in the amount of $151,000.
Thank you, Trustee Rossi. For the next item, we'll go to Trustee Petro.
Thank you.
Municipal Code Amendment, Chapter 31, Electronic Attendance at Meetings. At its March 2nd, 2026 meeting, the Committee of the Whole reviewed proposed amendments to Chapter 31 of the Municipal Code pertaining to electronic attendance at meetings. Since the village adopted its current ordinance, the Illinois Open Meetings Act has been amended to expand the circumstances under which members of a public body may participate in meetings electronically. In addition to the existing allowable circumstances, the amended statute permits remote attendance when a member is unable to be physically present due to 1, unexpected childcare obligations, or 2, the performance of active military duty as a service member. While authorized under state law, these additional circumstances are not currently reflected in the municipal code. The committee also considered amendments to allow members of the Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals to participate electronically under the same standards applicable to the village board members. It was the consensus of the committee to forward a recommendation to the village board to adopt the proposed amendments. The motion before us is to accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance amending the Village of Frankfort Code of Ordinance. Title III, Administration, Chapter 31, Board of Trustees, Section 31.03, Participation and Voting by Electronic Conferencing. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Petro. Now we'll go to the Plan Commission report summary, and we'll start with Trustee Severia.
Mayor Pro Tem, the next item is President Rowe Major Plan Unit Development Change. Action Behavior Centers Therapy LLC, located at 10043 West Lincoln Highway, requests approval of a major change to the President Rowe's Unit 1 Plan Unit Development to allow construction of an outdoor play area for its clients. The proposed improvements would be located near the south entrance of the building and would result in the removal of 5 existing parking spaces. At the February 26, 2026 public hearing on the project, the Plan Commission forwarded a unanimous 7-0 recommendation to the Village Board to approve the request. The motion before us is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance approving a major change to the President Rowe Unit 1 Plan Unit Development for the property located at 10043 West Lincoln Highway in accordance with the reviewed plans, public testimony, and findings of fact, and subject to the condition that the applicant shall restripe existing parking stalls to comply with Article 7, Section B, Part 6 of the Village of Frankfort zoning ordinance at or prior to construction of the outdoor play area.
Thank you, Trustee Severia. And for the final item, we'll go to Trustee Rigoni.
Thank you. The next item is the Mastro Residence Multiple Variances. Flaherty Builders, Inc., on behalf of the property owner, Julius and Paige Mastro, proposes a construction of a 3,498 square foot single-family home on the vacant parcel located at 807 Highland Road in the Prestwick subdivision. The property is substandard with respect to lot area, lot width, and lot depth in the ER zoning district. The applicant seeks approval of all 3 zoning variances to bring the property into legal conformance, along with a gross floor area variance to permit construction of the proposed residence. At the February 26, 2026 public hearing on the project, the Plan Commission forwarded 4 unanimous recommendations to the Village Board to approve the variance requests. The motion before us is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance granting the following zoning variations for the properties located at 807 Highland Road to bring the property into legal nonconformance and allow the construction of a new single-family residence, a lot area variance from 40,000 square feet to 31,549 square feet, a corner lot width variance from 165 feet to 109.18 feet, a lot depth variance from 267 feet to 181.56 feet, and a gross floor area variance from 5,000 square feet to 3,498 square feet in accordance with the reviewed plans, public testimony, and findings of fact.
Thank you. Those are all the items on the consent agenda tonight. We have a motion and a second on the floor, so I'll ask our clerk, Katie Schubert, take the roll.
Trustee Severia?
Yes.
Trustee Rigoni?
Yes.
Trustee Borelli?
Yes.
Trustee Petro?
Yes.
Trustee Rossi?
Yes.
Trustee Ledden?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, clerk. The next item on the agenda is the Frankfort Point Light Industrial and Commercial Center, 7200 Sauk Trail. And before we start on this, I just wanted to, I know a lot of I assume a lot of people here want to speak to this, and before we vote on it, I want to give the public a chance to speak to us before we actually vote. So what I'd like to do is have Trustee Ledden give a little brief overview on it, get some preliminary comments from the board so that you could sort of get a sense of, we can all get a sense of what the board is thinking, and then I'll invite the public up to speak to it before we come back and potentially vote on it. So I'll go to Trustee Ledden.
Okay, thank you very much. So as you said, this is the Frankfort Point Light Industrial and Commercial Center. Applicant Arit Design Studios LTD proposes the development of Frankfort Point, a 14-lot light industrial and commercial planned unit development, PUD, on approximately 133.25 acres, located at the southeast corner of Harlem Avenue and Stock Trail. The subject property is the only portion of the Village of Frankfort located within Cook County and is situated along the village's eastern boundary. Unincorporated Cook County borders the property to the north and the south, and the Village of Richland Park lies directly east. The proposed development establishes a commercial hard corner at Harlem and Sauk Trail on approximately 9.37 acres. Immediately south of the commercial lot, the applicant proposes a 49.76 acre commercial solar energy facility. The eastern portion of the site is planned for an industrial park consisting of 10 multi-acre industrial lots, along with 2 multi-acre lots designed for stormwater detention. The applicant is requesting the following approvals. 1, the rezoning of the northwest portion of the property, approximately 9.37 acres, from R1 single-family residential to B2 community business district, and rezoning the remaining 125 acres from R1 single-family residential to I1 limited industrial. Number 2, the approval of a preliminary development plan. Number 3, a special use permit for planned unit development. 4, special use permit for utility facility, a commercial solar facility, on proposed Lot 2. And 5, approval of a preliminary plat of subdivision. At its February 26, 2026 public hearing, the Plan Commission reviewed the proposed site, architectural design, landscaping, photometric, and lighting plans, as well as the requested modifications and exceptions. Following is a review, the Plan Commission forwarded the following recommendations to the Village Board. 4 split 5-2 recommendations in favor of rezoning from R1 to I1, approval of plan use development, approval of a preliminary development plan, and approval of preliminary plat of subdivision. 1 split 6-1 recommendation for the special use permit for a utility facility, and 1 unanimous 7-0 recommendation for the rezoning from R1 to B2. There are 4 motions for the Village Board to consider. It should be noted that certain language within the Plan Commission recommendations were revised concurrently with the legal review. The first motion before us is the rezoning and special use permit for the plan use development. So the motion is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance rezoning the property located at the southeast corner of Harlem Avenue and Stock Trail, parcel identification number 3131-100-001-0000, and having an address of 7200 Sauk Trail, Richton Park, Cook County, Illinois 60471. From R1 single-family residential district to B2 community business district for approximately 9.37 acres, the proposed Lot 1, and to I1 limited industrial district for approximately 124.88 acres, proposed Lots 2 through 14, with a special use permit for a planned unit development for Frankfort Point in accordance with the reviewed plans, public testimony, and findings of fact, and subject to preliminary engineering approval with the following specific village ordinance modifications, exceptions, waivers, and deviations from the zoning ordinance, landscape regulations, land subdivision regulations, and engineering design standards as follows. Proposed Lot 1 of the subject property shall be subject to all village ordinances, regulations, and standards applicable to the B2 Community Business District, except the permitted and special use for proposed Lot 1 B2 zoning are attached hereto as Exhibit C. Proposed lots 2 through 14 of the subject property shall be subject to all village ordinances, regulations, and standards applicable to an I-1 limited industrial district, except as follows. Number 1, fence screening for proposed Lot 2 along street footage property line shall be wood fence as illustrated within the plans. Fence screening for non-street frontage property lines shall be 8-foot-high black vinyl coated chain link fence with vinyl slats. Screening materials for proposed lots 3 through 12 for outdoor yard storage or security fencing shall be either 8-foot wood or 8-foot composite fencing material along the street frontage and black vinyl coated chain link fencing with slats along the side and rear yards. Number 2, a wood fence not to exceed 6 feet atop a 6-foot berm along the west property line of proposed Lot 2 shall be permitted to meet a minimum 24 to 27-foot setback from the right-of-way. Fences not to exceed 8 feet are permitted on proposed lots 2 through 12 and shall be permitted to meet a 20-foot setback from any front yard right-of-way. Number 4, masonry or wood structural supports, posts, reflective of wood fence character shall be permitted for wood fences. Number 5, any logistics uses on properties lots 2 through 14 shall have no more than 10 dock bays. Number 6, permitted exterior building materials for proposed lots 2 through 12 shall include architectural finished concrete, further defined as flat troweled finished precast concrete panels without the introduction or combination of other approved materials. Number 7, for greenhouse uses, only building architecture representative typical greenhouse facilities supporting interior plant growing shall be permitted. Number 8, trash enclosures constructed of composite fencing material or precast concrete walls not to exceed 225 square feet shall be permitted. Number 9, due to a 6-foot berm and or a 6-foot fence to the west and an 8-foot fence to the north, and an existing Harlem Avenue right-of-way plantings, no additional landscaping shall be required around the proposed Lot 2 detention basin. Number 10, the 25-foot transition yard and required plantings shall not be required along the portion of the south property line of the proposed Lot 13 detention area, abutting unincorporated Cook County. Number 11, due to existing plant material, required landscape material on the south and west sides of proposed Lot 13 detention shall be reduced to reduce the total estimated 692 units to 355 units. Number 12, due to the proposed ComEd electrical poles, planting on proposed Lot 14 detention area shall be reduced from 303 plant units to 285 plant units. And finally, number 13, permitted and special uses for proposed lots 2 through 14, I-1 zoning, are attached hereto as Exhibit D. The subject property shall be subject to all village ordinance regulations, standards, except as amended above and as follows. Number 1, no sidewalk shall be required along the interior roadways. Number 2, exceptions shall be granted for the property owner to either delay construction or delay payment of cash in lieu of fee or bond to the village for 2A, installation of a 10-foot wide asphalt multi-use path along the property right-of-way frontage of Harlem Avenue, west side of roadway from Southwick Drive to Laraway Drive for installation in the right-of-way unit until such time that connecting sidewalks and/or multi-use paths have been constructed to north, east, or west, subject to Cook County Department of Transportation highway approval. 2B, installation of a 5-foot wide sidewalk along Sauk Trail, south side of roadway, land subdivision regulations and village design standards until such time that connecting sidewalks and/or multi-use paths have been constructed to the north, east, or west, or in conjunction with the commercial development. Number 3, required plantings in the west transition yard of the subject property along the east right-of-way of Harlem Avenue shall be reduced from 414 plant units to 390 plant units. Required type of plantings for proposed lots 2 shall be reduced from 7 tree species and 7 shrub species to 6 tree species and 0 shrub species. Number 4, required parkway plantings in the north right-of-way of the subject property along the south right-of-way of Sauk Trail shall be reduced from 70 overstory trees to 32 overstory trees, subject to item 6 below. Number 5, required parkway plantings in the west right-of-way of the subject property along the east right-of-way of Harlem Avenue shall be reduced from 74 understory trees to 16 understory trees, subject to item 6 below. And now item 6, in lieu of preservation tree mitigation or cash lieu fees of $59,600, the applicant shall fill in all gaps in planting rows along the right-of-way along Harlem Avenue and Sauk Trail, in addition to detention plantings around the stormwater detention basins on proposed Lot 14 as requested, and approved by a licensed arborist or landscape architect and village staff, and subject to Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways approvals. Number 7, the predominant exterior colors of all buildings shall reflect neutral or tone colors or shades of gray. Number 8, all other conditions required by the village and approved concurrently with the ordinance shall be attached hereto as Exhibit E. And now, the motion.
Were you making that motion?
I will. So the motion before us is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation. And
Mr. Corelli, if we want to get a second on that first.
Yep. Can I get a second on that? The
Okay.
motion?
Second.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. I think before we go to the other motions, we'll talk to let the public, or I want to just open everything up to the trustees, and then we'll go to the public, and then we'll go back for the rest of the motions.
Okay.
Thank you. So let's start with, just to get some initial sort of input from the board, start with Trustee Rigoni.
Thank you, Acting Chair. I had just a couple of things that I wanted to kind of propose that for discussion purposes. One was discussion of the removal of EMOF, which is the road, the east-west road, extending to Harlem Avenue. I know that in the end of the public hearing, there was conversation about looking at that, so I would like to have that conversation. Also, some of the exceptions relating to fencing, relating to the industrial, as well as then just some further clarification on some, maybe from the applicant or staff regarding one of the items that was read relating to transition yards and existing plantings, as well as then discussion under Exhibit D, which is the list of uses for the industrial. In there includes solar array as permitted. I would like to have conversation about removing that to a special use as we currently have in discussion on item 2. So those were some of my items that I would like to further discuss with my fellow board members.
Thank you, Trustee Rigoni. Trustee Severia, do you have anything to add, or?
No, I mean, in general, I'm not a huge proponent of solar farms, but given the fact that this gives us more control over what we're doing, I'm pretty much in support of it.
Trustee Led?
Yeah, same. I guess I'm interested in hearing the public comment and being able to respond to those.
Sure. Thank you. Trustee Petro?
Thank you. I'm in favor of digging into what Trustee Rigoni had presented, especially closing off the road that would go to Harlem Avenue. And I too think that this is an interesting, I think the word is used, a bit problematic area of the village of Frankfort, given that it resides in Cook County, and then there's been several developments that have been proposed over the last few decades that have not come to fruition, and looking at what the best use is for this particular property and the surrounding residents.
Thank you. Trustee Rossi?
Actually, all the points that Trustee Rigoni brought up are important to me also, and I'll reserve whether I'm for or against until I hear more comments from the audience.
Sounds good. So at this time, I'd like to invite the public to speak. So if someone would like to talk about this specifically, please feel free to come up and state your name. Please.
Thank you. Got my glasses. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vincent Tessitore, and I'm from the law firm of Lindell and Tessitore, PC. I represent the adjacent landowner to the south of this property. I did send out a letter. Hopefully you got it. It was Friday afternoon. I was recently retained, so I did not get a chance to submit it earlier so that it was included in your packets. I am going to go through it now so that it's part of the record. But after I go through it, I also have a couple additional comments about something I discovered since I wrote the letter. So I'm going to go through that, and then if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. I'll be here if you want to have any discussion for me as well. So again, we represent Harlem Farm Properties, the owner of the property located at 22842 South Harlem Avenue, the adjacent landowner to the south of the subject site. On behalf of our client, we respectfully object to the applicant's request for rezoning from R1 to B2 and I1, a special use permit for planned unit development, overall approval of a preliminary PUD development plan, a special use permit for the proposed solar utility facility on Lot 2, and approval of the preliminary plat of subdivision. Our client asks that the village board deny these requests, or at a minimum, continue the matter until the record is materially completed. Frankfort's own adopted planning framework requires that development decisions be guided by long-range plans and local ordinances. The village currently publishes the 2040 Comprehensive Plan, future land use maps, zoning ordinance, landscape ordinance, subdivision ordinance, and engineering design standards as its governing public land use documents. The comprehensive plan expressly states that it is used to evaluate development proposals and guide long-range growth. The application does not satisfy that framework. The village's 2040 plan calls for development that considers long-term community effects, supports public safety, improves water management and flood resilience, coordinates to mitigate truck traffic impacts, and increases trail network connectivity for safe bicycle and pedestrian travel. The future land use map legend also distinguishes utility from business park and general commercial as separate land use categories. In the packet for this application, staff states that the northwest corner of the property is planned general commercial and the remainder is planned business park. That distinction matters. A nearly 50-acre utility-scale solar installation is not synonymous with business park, especially where it is proposed with extensive fencing, berming, utility poles, and multiple ordinance deviations. The village's own ordinance likewise cuts against approval on this record. The landscape ordinance exists to require screening and transition buffers that promote compatibility among land uses and to address detention-retention areas. The subdivision ordinance warns against piecemeal planning and is intended to implement the comprehensive plan, promote health and safety, harmonize development with the existing community, and ensure adequate drainage, transportation, ingress, and egress. Yet this proposal seeks a long list of waivers and modifications from those very protections. The most basic problem here is that this is not a concrete industrial or commercial development proposal. It is a request for broad zoning capacity and blanket use entitlements for future unknown users. The packet states that only the solar panel lot and detention pond lots, which are lots 2, 13, and 14, are intended to proceed now for final PUD approval, while all remaining lots will come back later when sold and developed. The applicant's own schedule gives dates for roadwork, utilities, and solar installation, but states that industrial and commercial construction is, quote, to be determined. The packet identifies no executed lease, no contract, no letter of intent, no named user, and no market study supporting any specific commercial or industrial occupant. The board should not approve a hypothetical menu of future entitlements first and ask hard compatibility questions later. That concern is heightened by the scope of the requested relief. The staff report says that the applicant seeks approximately 23 modifications, deviations, exceptions, and waivers, and that the majority are requested due to the overall cost of the development. The same report quotes the village's PUD standard that such privileges are to be considered only in direct response to tangible benefits to the village or neighborhood in the form of exceptional amenities or outstanding environmental, landscape, architectural, or site design. Cost cutting is not an exceptional public benefit. Here, the applicant seeks waivers or reductions for sidewalks, the Harlem Avenue multi-use path, fence setbacks, parkway trees, transition yards, detention bays and plantings, tree mitigation obligations, and landscaping requirements, while also deferring most architectural and final landscape to later unknown lot owners. That is not the type of exceptional PUD record that justifies granting the extraordinary relief that's requested here. The proposed solar facility on Lot 2 should be rejected for additional reasons. As proposed, it is approximately 49.76 acres, roughly 40% of the project, the largest single use in the project. It requires a 6-foot berm with a 6-foot fence along Harlem Avenue, 8-foot fencing on the other sides, ComEd utility poles and front yard fence setback modification because the design does not fit the ordinance as written. The applicant also seeks to waive sidewalks in the Harlem Avenue multi-use path in part because of project cost, even though staff expressly states that sidewalks would improve safety and the comprehensive plan identifies Harlem as a priority gap in the trail network. If Frankfort wishes to support renewable energy, their comprehensive plan says that the energy production should be appropriately scaled and balanced with open space, flood management, mobility, and public safety goals, and this proposal does not do that. The solar decommissioning record is also inadequate as submitted. The packet sample decommissioning plans phase financial assurance in at only 10% by year 1, 50% by year 6, and 100% by year 11. The sample bond language is limitation heavy and includes language disclaiming liability for hazardous waste cleanup, wetlands mitigation, remediation, and tort obligations. For a utility scale installation adjacent to agricultural land and drainage sensitive areas, this is not a persuasive or complete security package. The fact that staff proposes future refinement of the surety does not cure the problem that the board is being asked to approve the special use now on an incomplete and materially one-sided decommissioning record. Our client's property is not merely a small residential lot. It's an agricultural farm of over 100 acres immediately adjacent to the subject site and split by Hickory Creek. Our client has advised in writing the Plan Commission and the village in previous correspondence that Hickory Creek has flooded the farm in the past and that drainage impacts affect the agricultural operation as a whole. Those concerns aren't speculative. The packet shows wetlands on and adjacent to the property, and the preliminary development plan checklist states that a natural resource inventory report has not yet been submitted, even though staff notes that it's required by statute. The packet also proposes waiving the 25-foot transition yard and all required plant units along the south property line adjacent to our client's land. On this record, approval would be premature and inconsistent with the village's duty to protect public welfare and neighboring property. The same is true for the proposed commercial and industrial use menus. The application seeks blanket by right approval for a wide array of uses, including commercial uses such as a fueling station, convenience store, daycare, restaurants, tasting room, and industrial logistics-related uses of varying intensity. Yet the packet identifies no operator for any such use. The developer's own materials speak in terms of what unnamed users may want and what a, quote, variety of users can do in the future. That is not evidence of current viability. It's the opposite. It's speculation. The village should not grant by right entitlements for uses that have not been shown to be real, viable, financed, or contractually committed. If the developer lacks any commercial user under contract, lease, or letter of intent, then the board should not pre-approve a menu of uses on the theory that one might materialize later. Nor can the board fairly make the findings required for rezoning, special use approval, and PUD approval on this record. The packet itself recites those standards. Rezoning requires findings as to surrounding uses, surrounding zoning, suitability, development trends, and conformity with the comprehensive plan. Special uses require findings that the use will not be detrimental to health, safety, comfort, or general welfare, will not injure nearby property, will not impede orderly development, and will have adequate utilities, access, drainage, and traffic controls. PUD review requires protection of the natural environment, including floodplains, streams, wetlands, soil, and vegetation, and an orderly and creative arrangement of land uses. The present record, speculative end users, incomplete environmental submittals, unresolved drainage questions, extensive cost-driven waivers, and a dominant solar utility use that does not fit cleanly with the site's stated business park planning context does not support these findings. For all these reasons, Harlem Farm Properties respectfully requests that the village board deny the requested rezoning, special uses, preliminary PUD approval, preliminary development plan, and preliminary plat. At a minimum, the matter should be continued with the applicant providing the following. Number one, the missing natural resource inventory and full floodplain stormwater analysis. 2, actual identified end users, leases, contracts, or letters of intent for the non-solar lots. 3, final lot-specific architecture and landscape plans rather than deferred future concepts. 4, exact fencing and setback dimensions. And 5, a final decommissioning security package that is fully funded, durable, and free of the limitations shown in the current sample bond forms. That was the entire letter. I also discovered, as I was looking through this after I sent the letter to you, and this may be the most significantly legal and concrete legal objection that we have, but after writing the letter that I just read, I noticed that the present proposal seeks to allow uses for the property that are actually not in the Village of Frankfort zoning code. They seek to do this by way of a PUD agreement. Simply put, in my professional opinion, this is not lawful. This is, I think, what is known as illegal contract zoning. Frankfort may attach conditions to a lawful PUD, but it cannot use a project-specific PUD development agreement to invent land uses that your ordinance itself does not recognize. The appellate courts have classified this sort of mechanism as a, quote, invalid abuse of the zoning power. I urge you to at least seek advice from counsel on this issue before acting, but for the record, I'm going to give a couple of citations of relevant Illinois court opinions on this issue. And these court opinions go back 50 years plus. There have been a lot of litigation since, and they've been upheld, but the concept is the same. You can't engage in illegal contract zoning. One of the cited opinions is Cedarburg versus the City of Rockford. It's at 8 Illap 3rd, 984. It's a second district marquee case from 1972. And the second is Andres versus the Village of Flossmoor. Site for that is 394 Northeast 2nd 700, and that's out of the first district from 1973. With that, I thank you for your time. Again, I'm here if you have any questions for me or would like to discuss anything with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Please come up. Hello.
My name is Dondria Richardson. I live at 7201 Southwick. One of the questions that I had was, are we able to get any detail-informed information on the annex? Like, how does it work if you go through with allowing them the project? Mm-hmm. What is their guidelines of not being able to go back and make a decision to annex? What stops them from being able to annex?
Yeah, well, so right now we're just taking questions and we'll
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. So the question is, what teeth do they have to de-annex?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Abby Jarko. I live at 803 Highland in Prestwick. My question is can the village get anything more out of the builder in terms of putting the pathway all the way from Sauk Trail to Old Plank Trail along Harlem or on the west side of Harlem? And how is truck traffic going to be controlled on Sauk Trail north of Harlem, the original like Sauk Trail that
Sauk Trail west of Harlem,
Sauk Trail north of Laraway?
north of Laraway, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the other question about the trail was about extending it to Old Plank Trail?
Yeah, as opposed to just that piece that goes to from Sauk Trail, North Sauk Trail to Harlem.
Okay,
That 1 mile stretch.
thank you.
Susan
Sue.
Lynch, hello. Southwick subdivision. First, I support everything that was already said. My question is regarding the traffic report that was in the 465-page packet that was for Frankfort Point. Personally, I've had the front of my car damaged sitting there because the truck can't make the turn properly. The statistics that were there, maybe 5 years is average, but when you think about 2020 and COVID, and that I feel the statistics are skewed because of those years. I would like to see a 10-year look at the traffic incidents. If you've ever driven Harlem from Stager to Route 30, there's damage constantly that they're trying to fix, but it is not a very stable place. And again, to ask, what are the benefits to Frankfort? If it's an amendment to the plan, it's got to have benefits. And I've heard many people ask, but I haven't heard what the benefits are.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Come on. Oh.
Good evening.
Hello.
First of all, my name is Marjorie Fortner, and I live at 562B Dover Circle, and I'm on the portion of Prestwick where it's Aberdeen Road. And my chief concern is that we are in a part of the subdivision where there's only one way in and one way out. And ever since they've done development to the railroad, there's just like an extreme amount of traffic with those trains. And it's getting to the point now where I'm starting to feel like I'm a prisoner in my own subdivision. There's no stoplight at the corner of Aberdeen or anywhere. And so literally what used to be a very peaceful trail, I've been there for 23 years, is extremely congested. And now it's becoming almost ridiculous to get in and out of the subdivision. So I guess my first question was, did anybody address that? I didn't hear the whole thing, I was running a little bit late, but is there any proposal for widening the streets, creating a second exit so that we can get in and out? Because literally, there's no way to move when you have all that traffic. And if we add additional trucks, we're pretty much like locked in.
The question is about widening Harlem Avenue?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Was that ever addressed? I didn't hear anything about that.
I'm just taking the questions down, we'll address
Okay.
them.
All right,
when
thank
everyone's
you.
done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
Just have a few questions. Peter Kroner of Prestwick Drive in Frankfort. I guess my first question is, has anyone from Frankfort, from the village, discussed with Green Garden Township and Will County the thought of where that solar farm is going? Because I believe, from my understanding, there was some developer that was planning or looking to put solar farms in just south of, was that Steger Road? Yeah, Steger Road. And they pushed that back. They pushed back at them. Will County apparently is in a lawsuit right now with the developer, and that's in the courts to be handled because of the current state law that there is. But what Green Garden and Will County decided upon or came upon as a solution is to push the solar farms down to Manhattan, Monee, and LaGrange Road in that area there. So they're going to offer developers an opportunity to put solar farms there. It would be a slap in the face to our neighbors, in my opinion, if we allow a solar farm to go in right where they are fighting against it without talking to them and without discussing with them the ramifications of our decision if we approve this going forward. So I would really hope that the town would talk to Green Garden Township officials as well as Will County officials about where they are looking to put solar farms and where does this fall into their plans as well, because we need to be good neighbors. At the Planning Commission meeting, the one thing that I was impressed with by a few of the board members in front of the 75 or 80, 90 people that were here that were against this proposed development is that we wanted to be good neighbors. We heard that from a number of the board members. So I would ask that, number one, we do, and maybe we have, I haven't heard, so I would appreciate if we could talk to those government bodies. I'm going to say to the lawyer, I thought you did a fantastic job, because a lot of the things that he brought up that I'm hoping that you guys will be able to get answers for is exactly what many of us in the audience at the Planning Commission meeting had asked the Planning Commission, that we never got an answer from the Planning Commission. We never got an answer from the gentleman who represented the developer. We talked about water and the runoff. All the developer wanted to talk about is that they're putting in the detention pond and that they were going to reduce the flow. What they didn't address is what are they going to increase the amount of runoff of water with all this pavement that's going in there? Taking it out of farmland where it's going to be easily absorbed into the soil and putting pavement, concrete, asphalt, whatever it is, buildings. What is the amount of water that's there? And maybe you guys are privy. I haven't read the 400 and something page, so maybe you guys know this already, but I didn't see that addressed there. I did have one question, because I thought I heard when you were given a report, Trustee, that there's going to be a 6-foot berm or a 6-foot fence along Harlem Avenue. 8 foot. But when I heard the lawyer just speak, he said it was going to be an 8-foot fence and an 8-foot berm. So on top of the berm. I'm just trying to get clarification, which is correct. Do you know off the top of your head?
There were two separate things. It was one area it was an 8-foot fence. The other area was a 6-foot berm, potentially with a fence not to exceed 6 feet.
So it'll be 12 feet. It will be plus.
If it were to be 6 and 6, yeah.
Okay. Did want to bring up, too, the traffic study that the developer brought up to the Planning Commission and kind of reflect upon the concerns of Southwick and the folks on Aberdeen. Is that the traffic study, the gentleman said that according to their traffic study, there's not going to be any change in the traffic flow or the amount of trucks that are going to be coming up and down to Harlem or Sauk Trail. At the same time, they don't want to put the sidewalks in the development because of the intended truck flow and the potential safety issues with pedestrians or people walking on the sidewalks. I'm trying to figure out which is right. Is it too many trucks in the development and they want to put sidewalks in there because they don't want it, they're worried about the safety of the individuals? Or is it true, which I would tend to have a question about, how they can say that this development will not increase traffic flow in that area? It defies common logic, in my opinion. And the last thing I had was the same question that was asked repeatedly at the Planning Commission. What benefits does Frankfort get by giving all of these 20-plus variations? I mean, if you guys are going to vote to approve this at some point, I hope it isn't at this meeting, because I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered before we move forward. But if you're going to approve it, there's no reason to give these variances to this development. None. We are not getting anything out of it. Zero. So I would ask again that the town tell us, the citizens, what benefits we're going to get from this if we give all these 20-plus variances. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Okay. Hearing none, let's start talking about it. Let's start with, I guess, I don't know, the first motion. We have a motion on the floor in a second. I suppose we can, I don't know, do we want to address the comments that have been made first, and then we could go back to the motions? Sure. Okay. Go ahead, Trustee Layden.
I can start.
Yep.
So, obviously, thanks for the comments, thanks for coming out, and also for everybody who weighed in other ways, sending emails or reaching out, trying to get some more information about this. We've been trying to gather as much as information as possible so they can answer these questions as well as we can. And so the village over the years has acquired property in the downtown area as a strategic move to be involved in what gets developed there. At some point, there was the decision to annex in this property, also as what I would believe would have to have been a strategic move to have some say in what would be developed in this important piece of land on the east side of the village. So obviously, nothing did get developed there. It was zoned residential, and as Trustee Petro said, there are things that have come up over the years, but none of them came to fruition. So this is the thing that is before us now. So how do we break that down? We got this elephant of 24 variations, and we have to take it one bite at a time and figure it out. So one of the things that has come up is this whole issue of potential de-annexation, and are there legs to that? Is that true? What is that? Well, we do know that the landowner has indicated in the past that they would do that. And if they were to do that, that would take it out of the hands of the village in terms of what could be developed there and what the village would have some control in terms of what that development may look like. As Trustee Savarius said for himself, and I would echo that thing too, we're not huge proponents of solar. We're not, sure, it's good to have, green reusable energy, but we always want it somewhere else other than in our backyard, right? So when these things have come up, we as a board have supported other villages and municipalities when they have kind of pushed back on that. So why would we be different now? And if we are to be different, if that decision is made? Well, one of the first things in my mind is this de-annexation piece of it, because this is a unique property in that it's located in Cook County. And that really kind of changes the landscape for us a bit. It's in Cook County, for us, it's zoned as R1. We're looking to change that to I1, B2. So let's just address the de-annexation thing first. Is that a real possibility? That's truly a legal question, but I think there are certain criteria, I don't think there are, of whether a property can be or not. And what are those things that can be? And the first one is the size. So it has to be more than 20 acres. Obviously, we know this is 133 plus acres. The land has to be located within a municipal boundary. Obviously it is, because it was annexed in, and we know it's there. And the disconnection of this land is not going to isolate a part of the municipality. So given where it's at, it's located on the eastern boundary of the village. If it's de-annexed, it doesn't impact any other thing past it or beside it or whatever. And then it also can't negatively impact growth prospects, and development planning cannot be unduly disrupted. And it really can't, since it's where it's located at. It's not part of a natural growth of the village to the east or even to the south on that part. And it can't materially impair any delivery of municipal services. Again, given where it's located, it's not going to be a disruption to other services that the village would be providing. And then the final one is the impact of any revenue, so tax revenue. Right now, it's farmland, so obviously there's not a lot of tax that is associated with a large piece of farmland, so there wouldn't be a loss to the village because of that. So, like I said, again, that's a legal question, whether those would all be affirmatively answered yes, and if they are, and if that de-annexation is granted, then the concern on this, for all of us, would be what could potentially go there. And theoretically, it could be anything. It could be, again, it's in Cook County, but it's also zoned for our schools. So it's part of 157C and part of 210. So if it were to be a large residential development, or, if it were to be, smaller lot sizes, for example, more affordable housing, there would be opportunity for greater density there than we as a village would have. So those are all things that we've been, considering as we're looking at this and trying to see what is the right thing to do for the village and for all of us and for you guys that are immediately impacted by it every day. So that was just the first thing that I wanted to address.
Thank you, Trustee Ledden.
So Trustee Ledden actually commented on a lot of things that, are important to me too. A lot of people said, what's in it for Frankfort, right? And my biggest concern is the de-annexation. I believe that, and staff, correct me if I'm wrong, they actually filed a petition to de-annex once, right? So
notice of intent to de-annex, correct?
yeah, so that's a real threat. And as Trustee Ledden said, they meet the criteria. And I believe there was an adjacent property that actually was successful in de-annexing. So for us to say that's not a reality, it is a reality. And that's what's really driving my choice to kind of support this. I do not support solar farms. We had a solar farm that came up right across from the VFW while I was on the Plan Commission, and I was adamantly against it. We've also supported Will County as far as the solar farms to the south of us. In this case, if they de-annex, we have no control. They'll put up a solar farm, they'll put up high-density housing. We have no control over what they do, the screening, anything at all regarding that. So when you say, what does this do for Frankfort? Well, it allows us control, right? Is there a negotiation with the developer? Yeah, there is, because the alternative is they de-annex and they put up whatever they want, and we have no control over anything. So, as far as I'm concerned, the de-annexation is a real possibility. And if it happens, then, we don't control. If it's high-density housing, they're going to be coming to our schools because that's the way it's currently, zoned. And they're going to be paying Cook County taxes instead of our taxes, so they're going to be paying a lower tax rate. Or they put up the solar farm as it is, and we can't control the access, we can't control the screening. So, as far as I'm concerned, the stance I'm taking is to kind of help you guys and try to protect you as much as possible. And, hopefully you guys see that, but that's kind of my comments.
Thank you, Trustee Severia. Trustee Rigoni? Trustee Petro? Trustee Rossi?
No, go ahead. Continue, you're doing great.
So,
Go ahead, Trustee Petro.
I would echo a lot of the other trustee comments here. Certainly, first of all, I want to say thank you for getting involved in your local community and government, and sometimes it's a fence, sometimes it's a project that brings you here, and I welcome all of the comments and the questions that have come, and it gives us an opportunity to dig in a little bit further. I wanted to also comment on the Green Garden Solar Farm. We actually did have a presentation by the Green Garden Group not that long ago, probably within the last month, and they were able to shed some additional light on that project. And one of the differences with that project is that the solar farms are not combined. They're like just popping them up in different areas, like throughout Green Garden. And so this project is a little bit different, is that it's one continuous area versus what Green Garden is dealing with is multiple areas throughout the township. And so that's one difference, and we are up to date with that and definitely always looking to be good neighbors and having our 1 mile or 5 mile review of any of our neighboring properties. I use the word problematic because it is problematic. This is the only area that is Cook County where the rest of the village of Frankfort is in Will County. And this de-annexation, I do believe, I don't have a crystal ball, but if past precedents based on what they had communicated is a good indicator of future, then it looks like they may choose that route if they're not able to build somewhat what they want to be able to develop here. And I sit up here to try to make the best decisions for the residents of Frankfort. And in this case, it might not be what everyone is looking for, but if it's the most minimal impact to what is already existing there, that might be the best choice for this development versus us not having any ability to weigh in on screening or colors or some of the uses that are here. And so when I look at us having some ability to control that versus it being de-annexed to another unincorporated Cook County, I would favor this board and the Plan Commission, which you guys all spoke so highly of, really being able to tailor as best we can to really meet the Village of Frankfort standards that we're all used to.
Thank you. Trustee Rossi?
Thank you. First, I have a question for Rob. The point brought up by the attorney about the legality of doing the PUD that he brought up, has that been run by our legal counsel to see if that's true, a fact, or a problem?
Well, I know that legal counsel worked with staff on developing the ordinances as far as the actual uses. That I'm not sure of if that did get reviewed, but our village attorney did work with staff on developing the ordinances.
Okay. The other thing, and again, it's hard when you follow the others because they've all said things that are in my mind also. The concern I have is if it's de-annexed, goes to unincorporated Cook County, I don't think we have a chance of getting the control or getting the requirements that we would require to control that operation. I mean, we're talking about a street that we're concerned with going on to Harlem. Would Cook County say they can't do that? I don't know, but I know their codes are nowhere as strict as ours are. And I have to say, I'm concerned with that part more than any of it. I definitely am not a solar fan, but if we're going to get a solar field and we're going to get some industrial in there, and it's going to be done with our codes and our ordinances, I think we have a lot better chance of doing it the right way. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Rigoni? Yep.
Thank you. I won't echo many of what my fellow board members have already said. Just a couple items that I'd like to kind of point out globally, and then kind of ask some of our fellow board members if we could kind of clarify, because I think some of the changes that have come out of the Plan Commission might kind of address some of the questions particularly. As it relates to it, again, when I look at this, the comprehensive plan, it's showing business park. And in the business park example, write-up, it includes light industrial. When we look at what our plan is, what our vision is, and what property is, we look at the land use plan. And it does say that, and this fits in it. As it relates to solar, I looked at as a buffer. By the berm, by the screening, and so forth as a buffer. Having that industrial, almost, what is it, about 1,400 feet furthest away from that Harlem, creating that buffer. As opposed to another development, when we look at it, that business park line goes right up to Harlem Avenue, so kind of creating that buffer in there. I think that our Plan Commission reviewed it, and they did recognize that there were 23 deviations. I know I've spent a lot of time with staff dissecting those deviations, which ones are required to meet the intent of the screening, which ones I think that we should further discuss and whether need to be included in there. So I would like to recognize, I think even since that point, we've knocked that number down. And I think that some of those items that many of the questions had relating to traffic, I think that if we could have that discussion about EMOF connecting, that might address some of the traffic, as well as then some of the items relating to the bike path, because when Trustee Ledden read it, there is a portion of the modification in the ordinance relating to the bike path. Things like internal sidewalks and so forth, those are not customary in our existing industrial park. So looking to see which ones are those which we've customarily allowed for, and which ones I think that we should address. Like, I think we should have a conversation about, the landscaping. Why are we deviating it, and what are the needs, and so forth, and how can we get to those numbers? So that's kind of my global. And also one thing I think that I had a conversation again with staff about is that everything tonight, it's preliminary, so meaning that it's going to have to come back for final. So, correct me if I'm wrong, that when, for example, an industrial lot, like Lot 3 or Lot 5, when it has its known user, it's going to have to go before the Plan Commission. Won't be a public hearing, but go before the Plan Commission with a design, with a site, where their parking is, where their building is, where their lighting is, where everything is, go through the Plan Commission for review, and then come to this body for review. So there is another level of checks and balance to make sure that they are meeting our requirements and they are meeting our standards. That is not customary in some of our other industrial parks, where buildings go up, they meet the codes, we don't see them, but this is a little bit different. Every building's gonna have to come back before us at the Plan Commission and here, so we can continue to keep those eyes and ears. It is very custom that we don't know the end users. It's very, very custom that you, in any type of commercial development or industrial, you don't know the end users. I would like to have a conversation about some of those uses, whether it is simply, conditioning upon, legal review of Exhibit C and D to ensure. I want to make sure that we're in compliance with law. It's never the intent here, but as I said, there's one or two other ones that I would like to further discuss on those.
Thank you, Trustee Rigoni. A few comments too. I appreciate my board colleagues, a lot of great comments. I agree with all of them. I wanted to just reemphasize the importance of the de-annexation and the reality that that would happen, but not only that, the residential piece of it and the fact that it's within the Frankfort schools, that one really gets to me because of the way the taxing works. And Cook County and Will County tax residential differently. And so our schools, the same house in Frankfort, even if it were to be developed to Frankfort standards, the same house would pay less to the schools than a house in Will County. And so in effect, it's subsidizing that house. And, I didn't make the rules. I don't know why it's that way, but so in Cook County, commercial and industrial pay higher. This is generally speaking, but residential pay lower to the schools. And so I don't like that. I don't know the history of how it became residential. I'm sure it was part of a bigger plan, but in general, residential doesn't make sense there to me for that reason. And so on the flip side, this development would have no residential, but would still generate some additional revenue for the schools. Not that it's a huge portion of it, but it's generating some additional revenue without increasing the burden on the school. So I think that's a people are asking what the benefit to Frankfort is. That's one of the benefits in my mind. I appreciate Trustee Rigoni emphasizing that this is preliminary approval, and that's a very important piece of this. I wanted to talk, I've gone to both Plan Commission hearings just to listen to the public, and I wanted to, one common theme was connectivity in the trail. And the way we've conditioned this, and based off the Plan Commission recommendation, we would include a trail, or the applicant would be responsible for constructing a trail or providing cash for a trail on the west side of Harlem, where it makes a little bit more sense, from Southwick to Laraway, where it would connect into the Sauk Reservoir Trail, and so there is some additional connectivity. Connecting it all the way to Old Plank Trail that's the dream. Harlem, unfortunately, is under Cook County's jurisdiction, and so we can barely get the trees trimmed on Harlem. We go to Prestwick a lot, and it's terrible driving down there. I'd love to see it be a 3-lane road with a turning lane. It should be, but it's not, and I know we advocate for it very often, and our mayor is in contact with our elected officials, and it just doesn't seem to get much traction. But I hear your concern with it. I just don't know what we can do about it. But the very least, we can potentially provide a trail from Southwick to Laraway, which is a little bit of a piece of connectivity for the residents there. That, again, though, is subject to Cook County approval, so we have to, again, at the mercy of Cook County, unfortunately. I just want to make sure, I think most of the questions were addressed. One was stormwater runoff, just in general. I'm a civil engineer. I haven't designed any ponds lately, but just in general, any undeveloped site, the way the rules are written, it's to improve drainage no matter what. So any kind of agricultural site that gets developed, when pavement's added, detention is also added, and that detention is always greater than what the previous runoff is, and there's a whole bunch of stormwater calculations that are done to do it. So by developing the site, the runoff into Hickory Creek will be improved. That's guaranteed, and that you could go through the stormwater calcs and hire an engineer to do that, but they'll tell you the same. We have those calcs are there, but if someone wants to check them, they can. But just in general, when a site's developed from agriculture, it's the drainage is improved.
Also, our standard is more stringent than unincorporated Will County, and so ours is actually higher than what we use for stormwater calcs.
Thank you, good point. Along those lines, I wanted to also go back to the unincorporated. If it becomes unincorporated Cook County, the developer could potentially just develop the solar farm with no screening, no berms, no fence, because unincorporated areas in Illinois, based on this legislation that was passed a couple of years ago, basically provides the guidance or the ordinance of what you can do in terms of screening and in terms of berms. They actually don't know, you're not allowed to have berms. You can't force the developer to put in berms, so they could actually develop the same solar farm with basically no screening based on the way it is, because it would be unincorporated. So again, it's just to echo what the board is saying. It's I don't think anyone's in love with this development, but we're just looking at what's best for the long-term village and what's the least impactful to the residents. So with that, let's see. Do you want to go through some of the changes?
Sure. I guess first and foremost, I was the one that brought up the removal of EMOF. I know that it had been brought, so I guess that might address some of the concerns about access and impact on Harlem Avenue, south of Sauk Trail, Laraway there. So I'm in favor of removing it if it does not have to be there for any life safety reasons. As long as the fire department's in there, I think having it removed will limit, obviously, if we don't have an access drive for the industrial there, that will eliminate the industrial traffic from that leg of Harlem Avenue. I think in terms of the residents who are immediately across there. So I would like to have that discussion about removing that portion.
Okay. Maybe we'll go through them one at a time and just kind of get an indication of where the board is with those conditions that we want to add or change before we start going through the actual motions. So does anybody feel differently about the removal of MHOF or conditioning the removal of MHOF? Okay. Okay. What was the next one, Trustee Rigoni?
I think that just kind of piggybacking on the discussion of the uses, Exhibit D is those uses that we're listed as both permitted uses and special uses. In Exhibit D, it included solar array as a permitted use. I would like to consider that being moved to a special use, because it currently is a special use now.
I would agree with that change.
Okay, and I would like to note that just for everyone in the public, that it appeared that there were changes that were brought even after the Plan Commission. I believe that they did have some in here, particularly one, I just wanted to clarify, there was question about, in the commercial component of it, allowing for things like fuel stations by right. That is a special use. So things like fuel stations and so forth would have to come forward for a special use request. Automotive uses, similarly liquor uses, packaged liquor uses, restaurant with full liquor sales, those would have to come back here. So I just wanted to clarify that there were some changes to that. So some of those more intense uses that we typically see as special uses are still in that category.
Thank you. That's a good point to bring up. Does anyone have an issue with the solar farm being a special use? Nope. No. Okay. Thank you.
Do we think it's also worth having that conversation about just having legal check Exhibit C, and D to make sure we're not doing any contract zoning in case something was missed?
Well, that was going to be my question.
Okay.
'Cause just looking into it, like, first of all, daycare center or nursery, child or adult, are we talking about any of these, like more memory care or any of that? It's under permitted right now, and that's a special use. So I think that should also be looked at under special use.
So we can add a condition subject to legal review of
C and D to ensure no contract zoning.
C and D.
I think it's worth just having that double check.
Absolutely.
Because there is some contradictory permitted and special between, what is it, B2 and I1?
Okay. Okay. Any issues with that? Yeah, go ahead, Trustee Rossi.
Maybe Rob can answer. I don't know if the developer's here, if he could answer. As we know, this is in the village, but it does not have any fire protection. There is nothing, they are not in the Frankfort Fire Protection District or any other. I'm looking to see if they are reaching an agreement between the developer and the fire district for protection, because I really have a problem building anything there with no fire protection.
Yes, they're in negotiation with the Frankfort Fire Protection District and signing an agreement with them to come into the district.
So they're in current negotiate, okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Do you want to talk about the fencing?
Yes. The other one that I had noted was, I believe it is on page 2 of the write-up, where it talks about fencing within the minimum 25-foot front yard setback. That is not customary that we do. We generally do not allow 8-foot fences within the front yard setback. So would be looking to strike that requirement. That exception as well.
Which one was that?
That's, I believe that's on page 2 of the summary, and it's number 3, where
Number
it says
3,
fence
yeah,
exceeding shall, so it shall are permitted, and there, and shall, where it says shall be permitted within, to meet the 20-foot front yard setback of right-of-way, I would request that we do strike that. That would also then help to ensure we keep that streetscape along Sauk Trail.
Okay, so strike after lots 2 to 12.
Yes, I guess I would clarify that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, we do have a resident who would like, she was raising her hand.
Oh, I'm sorry.
At the last meeting, the developer was here, and he did state that they negotiated with the fire department. So would you be able to check the minutes to cross-reference what he said when he was on the mic? Because he did say that they had negotiated that with the fire department. So we want to make sure they're not just selling us false dreams.
I appreciate that. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. But our village administrator has confirmed that we are indeed, or the Frankfort Fire District is indeed talking or negotiating with the applicant. If there's any changes to that, please.
No,
Okay.
I apologize. Come up. My name is Charles Smith.
No, please, Chuck, please come up. Sorry.
I can answer the question. I'll answer the question on the fire department. We met with the fire department a couple times over the last 4 weeks. We've made application, I think, last week with the fire department to annex into the fire protection district. I also have a letter from the fire department approving the project, obviously contingent upon us annexing into the district. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In line with the setback, can we look at A10? I know one of the residents talked about the 25-yard should not be required at Lot 13. I just wanted to make sure, is this because of I just wanted some clarity. Is that because it goes to the detention pond, but all the other screening on the south side will be at the 25 feet? Okay.
Just for the one lot for detention pond.
So I guess the question is the detention pond acting as a transition yard? Do we have to make note on the plan that there's a transition yard?
I can address that. If those that are familiar with the property, and I don't have an exhibit, so I apologize, is if you're familiar with the land, there's a lot of existing planting that is along the south side of the property, kind of begins to thin out as we go further east. There's a lot of landscape material that runs up the east property line as well, that begins to thin out as you hit towards Sauk Trail. So a number of these landscape variances really are in an effort to kind of maintain the existing landscape as much as possible. Like, for example, you're asking about lot 13. 13, which is the detention pond. We purposely designed the detention pond and moved it further north so it wasn't as close to the south property line, so we wouldn't disturb as almost all that existing vegetation and stuff. So the village ordinance would require, based on their ordinance, which is fine, would require us to basically clear all that vegetation out and come back and plant probably less than 25% of what's existing there to meet your ordinance. So our ask for variance is let us leave what's there and not tear it apart. Otherwise, if we have to meet your ordinance, we have to tear it all apart. And the same, so that's why we're asking.
No,
that.
I appreciate that, and we've done a lot of, we prefer to preserve if.
Exactly. And there's some nice, we did a tree study.
Do we have a tree study?
Yep, pretty extensive.
There is a tree study, if I may.
I'm sorry.
No,
Chair,
please,
may I
Trustee
ask?
Rodney. Yes,
So I guess
please.
the question is, because this is where I wanted to get in some of these landscaping, because we're asked what the benefits are, and then we're turning around and varying all the landscaping. But in digging in conversation, it sounds as if the 25-foot transition is provided because of the
Yes, it
detention
is.
pond.
Yeah.
You want to preserve the trees.
Yes.
So, but I think and I'm looking at staff, I think our ordinance would probably give you credit if you're preserving the trees.
Yes.
Okay, so
So-
the question is that in some of this, I feel that, and even in, sorry, I'm kind of diverting
It's
some of the
okay.
other ones, fellow board members, on page 3, where it's 4 or 5, we defer to number 6, which talks about, interspersing some of these trees. So I guess the overall question is that, is the intent to meet the ordinance by giving credit of what you're preserving?
At the long run, yes.
At the long run, yes.
Yes.
So in terms of the question regarding the property to the south, that it's not going to have a transition yard, it just doesn't say it on the plan,
But it's there.
But it's there.
Which you could make it, if you want to add as a condition that
Correct.
that landscape stays intact
Yeah,
on 13, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But that was the intent.
That was the intent, and I think that that's the most important, is that if the intent is to preserve these trees and get credit for them, because I think our ordinance allows us to give you credit, and that's what, and personally, I feel that existing vegetation that's out there
Right.
far exceeds what we're going to plant
yeah,
today.
exactly.
Correct.
And just if the board ever wants to look at it, there's probably about 4 or 5 pages of tree survey information, and it's knocked down to every 100 feet of what plants are within it and what credits are there. So it's a very detailed plan.
Well, I think just the addition of it not be required, but preservation of existing would meet,
That's what
would satisfy that.
That's what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
That's on number 10, right?
Number 10 of A.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe it is requiring the transition yard.
We're doing it, well, if you want to, that's fine, I think what happened at the Plan Commission is where there's a transition yard required that we said, that we agreed to at the Plan Commission, and after that, I think, was that along the south property line of 12, and then all along the east property of 12 going up to, I think, 8 it is. So there's a 25-foot, and we've already revised the plan, it's a 25-foot wide landscape easement that runs up the whole east property line and wraps around the south part of 12. When it gets to 13, we just didn't carry it because our discussion point was we were going to keep the existing landscape. And the
Okay.
same thing is intended all along the east side as well.
Thank you.
Should I stay up here? Okay.
And I guess that would be, now that we're talking about it, for one, I'd like to applaud the Plan Commission for pushing back on requiring that 25. They did a very good job of requiring that. And I think kind of going on to the good neighbor part is that, if the intent is that Lot 13 was to preserve it, then I think that we should make sure our motion does reflect that. The other question then comes in terms of tree preservation is that of the exceptions that are relating to the landscaping along the Sauk Trail right-of-way and along the Harlem right-of-way, that it then in the one suggestion, it says that the applicant will fill in the gaps in planting rows along the right-of-way in addition to the detention ponds around the basin of 14 as requested. So is the intent to see what is preserved and then fill in where
Yes,
we don't have?
Yes.
Okay.
Real quick, is so that audience or residents can hear this as well. All of you have driven up and down Harlem, you see the density of the material. Our berm, let me just make an explanation, our berm is starting on the other side of that material, so we're not even disturbing any of that. It was purposely put further into the site. The variances with regard to the right-of-way trees that we're talking about, or the deviation, is not that we don't want to put them in. The issue is again, is the landscape right-of-way tree ordinance is that we put it over canopy tree 3 inches in diameter every 35 feet. Well, as we drive down Harlem, northbound from the site, from the farm, we have trees a heck of a lot closer than 25 feet. So to meet that ordinance, we, again, clear cut all that stuff out and put trees every 35 feet. It'll be 30 years before they're even anything. So our request is not to not do it, is let us keep what's there. What Trustee Regoni said is that there are some vacant spots in there. And so what we want to do is, and I've said this a number of times, selectively work with staff and an arborist or a landscape architect and come in and plant the right-of-way trees in areas that have some ability to be able to put them there and that they'll flourish and stuff and not choke out. So so again, the waiver is not to do it, it's just to responding to the existing condition. And that's the same condition along Sauk Trail. So that's what that's for. So we're not trying to get away with anything.
Right.
We're just trying to tailor-make these specific to the site.
Appreciate the clarity and the preservation.
Thank you. Anything else?
Then if I interject, I think
please,
maybe
please.
what we might want to do is, because if the intent is to preserve the trees basically along the perimeter.
Yeah.
Along the perimeter of the lot, then maybe there should be, intact onto number 6. Leave the exceptions as is, I guess, just because I can't think of, we're talking about numbers here, but maybe something that the final landscape plan should include the plant counts for all those trees identified for preservation, along with preservation methods.
It does.
No, I'm saying that that's what it does, but I'm thinking that we
Oh, put
should
it as
have
a
a
condition, that's
motion.
right.
To add that to number 6.
Yeah, that's something that the final landscape plan shall include.
But in the tree preservation plan does show that on now.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it's on there.
Subject to preservation plan.
Just a point of clarity, though, is we've made an application, or we've reached out to Cook County as of the Plan Commission meeting, asking if it's okay, because oftentimes the county, it's the county's right-of-way, both in Sauk Trail and in Harlem and stuff. So we've asked the Highway Department several times over the last couple of weeks, and it's just been crickets, if they'll allow us to even plant there. If they say no, then that changes everything. But it's not that we don't want to, but I've worked in other situations that we've worked and had right-of-way trees required by local municipalities, and we got into the county and they said, not in our place. So, because they didn't want to maintain them.
And if I may interject, we have here, even in the village, and what we've done is asked to be put on private property then.
Yeah.
So we meet the intent of our
Right,
ordinance.
exactly.
Yep. So maybe that's, something that if unable to be planted in the right of way, provide on site.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
I apologize, I'm making it messy now.
No, it's okay. I'm taking notes. So 6, we want final, or subject to final landscape plan.
Okay.
I think we're good. Do you have any other questions for Chuck while he's up here?
can
Talk about the
I,
fencing?
can I make a comment about benefit? I know we've heard that a lot.
Please.
Is it appropriate?
Sure.
Okay. And it was brought up in earlier in the discussion of the board members. The current tax bill for 133 acres, 135 acres in the county is $2,397.93. That goes to what goes out of that $2,000 a year, $93 goes to Frankfort. $1,000 goes to 157C, Lincoln Way High School 210 is 657. Park District is $63 a year, and Frankfort Public Library is $59. Can I continue? Over the last week or two, I worked with a tax attorney that specializes in Will County and Cook County taxes, and we just did a quick review with a very conservative build-out with regards to square footage, because we know that Cook County taxes are based on square footage. At the completion of the project, which for our developer is sooner than later, but once that full build-out, the estimated tax bill would be $1,525,744 from $2,400 a year.
So more.
A little more. What that does is, to the school district with no children, would give them an extra $764,000 a year. That's a difference of $654 with no children impact at all. The high school currently only gets $657 with the full build out of the project, which we're hoping within the next 5 years. That tax distribution to the high school would be $418,359. Now, obviously, it's going to change because it's based on build out, Village of Frankfort gets $93. That's what it costs to go have dinner at Francesca's. It will get almost $60,000 a year. The Park District gets 63 right now, and it'll get about 41,000. And then the Public Library gets $59. They're low on the totem pole, and they will get about 38,000. Now that's based on full development and with a very conservative number from a square footage standpoint. It's based on square footage. We figured about maybe 300 to 350,000 square foot built, which sounds like a lot, but it's spread over 50 acres. Typically, 50 acres could develop as much as 500,000 square feet, which I don't think this will do. If by chance it does, it increases the tax base by another $1 million. So there's benefit there that it's not seen, and stuff, but I think some of the discussion points that we were talking about earlier. It's a lot of money going into a community with no impact.
Thanks, Chuck. Let's see. I think there was like some fencing. Oh, sorry. Please.
Hi, my name is Crystal Marshall, and I am a resident in the Southwick community. And although those numbers are great, that sounds really good. According to property value, there is a decrease. Has the village taken a look at those numbers in terms of the decrease of adding a solar farm and how that impacts property value, specifically within 1 mile to a half a mile of the solar farm? Another question is, can the entrance that will be on Sauk Trail possibly, can we move that further east? I'm wondering, just asking. I know that we are proposing not to have an entrance or exit on Harlem, but for the entrance and exit, just according to the diagram, I don't know the numbers and exactly how far that is from Harlem. Maybe I'll start with that question. How far is that entrance from Harlem? I'm wondering, and
2,000 feet roughly.
Yeah, a little over a quarter mile.
Okay, thank you, because
Yeah.
like 2,000.
Okay.
Okay, and yeah, those are my two questions. Thank you.
And then the other one was about what was the other?
The other question was the impact of a solar farm to property value
Gotcha.
within 1 mile of the solar farm. Although the tax benefits sound great,
Sure.
but as a property owner, with this farm being in my backyard, what will it do for my property? Thank you.
I understand.
Can I address that?
Please, Trustee Severio.
So, I don't know, most of you guys know this, but within 1,000 foot just east of Prestwick, there's a solar farm.
Not aware of that.
Most people don't know that.
Is it
And-
behind the trees?
Pardon me?
Is it?
Right. So with the proper screening, the impact will be low, right? Most people don't even know that exists. And so I would say that the impact to the property values with that solar farm, are pretty minimal. I mean, I haven't done a study, but
How large is that farm? Any idea compared to what we're planning to do now?
11 acres.
It is
The solar farm on ITW is roughly 11 acres.
11 acres.
11 acres, yeah.
And this one will
It's
be
50.
50, okay. Okay.
But I would also just make a comment on that,
Mhm.
is what's the impact to your resident, your home values
Mhm.
if they de-annex and it's developed as something much worse? That's the trade-off. I'm sorry.
No, I do understand that. Has the village ever considered purchasing that property?
The village has spent many years unwinding our real estate portfolio, and I think there will be a mass resignation if we even attempt to purchase the land. I think it's roughly $6 million, and I don't,
And they were
not
paying
seeing much
two-
appetite looking to my left and right to do that. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
And they were paying $2,000 in taxes?
What's that?
And they were paying $2,000 in taxes?
That's a good, undeveloped.
About 2,400.
I pay more than that. But okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate the question. Is there anything else that we want to go through? Go ahead,
If I
Trustee
may
Rodoni,
just
please.
ask, I know there was a question regarding truck traffic kind of on local streets, particularly like Sauk Trail west of Harlem Avenue. Do we have any no truck routes within that area or truck restrictions within that area?
And the state basically removed any local control for truck routes,
Okay.
so
We
can't do anything anyway.
We can't even
so-
impose our own.
No.
So we're tied to the state, and then we're tied Laraway Road to Will County. We're tied Sauk Trail and Harlem, both to Cook County.
Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure I got all my entities
Yep.
straight that we're trying to
Good.
battle with.
Good question. I don't know, is there anything else that we haven't touched on that, please?
I think for me, we hit on some of the conditions. Excuse me, I have a cough tonight. But I'm still uncertain, or would love to have a little bit more legal review on these permitted uses that are in C and D versus our permitted uses in B2.
I agree, and I would like to add that as a condition to make it subject to
Thank you.
legal review, if that's okay with everybody.
Yes.
Yes, okay. I think that's a good one to add. And that would be, let's see, that would probably be added to A.
A13, well, but we'd also want it to apply to the B2, so A13 talks about it for Exhibit D. So if we just maybe say a
Gotcha,
condition
there
for
it is.
Exhibit C and D, that should cover us.
Yep. Permitted and special uses for proposed lots 2 and 14 are attached here to as Exhibit D, comma, subject to legal review of Exhibit C and D.
Yeah, so we could say permitted special uses for lots 2 through 14 and lot 1B2 attached herein for Exhibit C and D for legal review. And removal of the solar array. We don't want to forget that one. As a special, move it to a special use.
You got it?
I got it.
Okay.
Okay. I got it.
Please. Can you approach the, thank you.
This is regarding the de-annex, because I don't understand the answers, is why I'm asking.
No
again.
problem.
My main question is to you, if you allow this project to go through, what will the terms be for them not to be able to go back later and say, I want to de-annex, I don't like the terms that you all, there may be something that they're not okay with, and they can say, we still gonna go de-annex.
Yeah.
What clauses will be in the contract where they won't be allowed to do that? Or is that a law? Is there something that states that they will not be able to go back and make a decision later to de-annex?
No, it's a good question. Trustee Ledden can probably answer it best, but there's a list of like 5 different criteria, and one of them is essentially the site hasn't been developed yet. So once the site's developed, it basically prohibits them from de-annexing. Trustee Ledden, if you had something to.
No, the only thing I was going to add was the who the property owner is. So property owner owns it with what it is right now, has an opportunity if they were to explore it to de-annex. That changes, that may not follow with it. So our opportunity is now to get the agreement on how this would work, how it would be developed, and what would happen with the future with the land.
And to answer your question, I'm only going off of the different criteria. One of them has to do with a loss of, I'm trying to,
Right,
like,
yes, the loss
it's
of
a loss of revenue, a loss of, correct? So once it's developed, that may, again, I'm not legal nor court, but that might be something harder to get them to easily. As we just heard, the tax bill's $2,000, right? So that might be something that would be harder to de-annex as part of those criteria. They may not be able to check that once it's developed. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly.
Well, I think I heard your question differently, I guess. So just for clarification, were you saying that the de-annexation, if they were to decide before it's developed, if they don't like the conditions that are coming forward? Or are you saying
No,
after
I'm
it's
saying,
certain?
I'm saying, if I'm in a negotiation with you, and like you all are stating, the likelihood of making the decision is from the de-annex. Everything else we can get through, but the de-annex, it's like either you give it to me or you don't. And then even if you do give it to me, and I don't like your requirements and they're feeling uncomfortable throughout the, the process, I can just go file the de-annex. So I'm saying, what puts them in a position to get the approval from you all and not be able to go back and de-annex later? Because this is what we're trying to do, is stop them from being able to de-annex. So what clause are you going to put in place to make them not ever be able to go back and de-annex?
I don't think we have a clause as long as they haven't developed. So that's why we have been in negotiations with them to try to find a happy medium that works for us and for them, so that this is developed, it's beneficial for us, but we're protecting, the citizens as much as we can. So I don't know if that answers your question.
I mean, as much as probably what you have here, I'm thinking it's more a legal question. It's more of what the terms could actually be, giving an owner an opportunity to make a decision one way or the other. It's like, if I was the business owner, it's like, once we're doing it, because I hear a lot of stuff, the things with the fencing and the trees, it's like, if you give me the contract, and later it's like, well, it's not panning out, I think we should just go de-annex and just be done with Frankfort.
Yeah, I mean, we have no control over that, and that's why we're in this process right now. So we're I think right now the development is, financially viable for them, so they have an interest in working with us. We are negotiating with them, so but it's a real concern, and that's why we're here, and that's why, again, most of us don't really support solar farms, as a general rule. But in this case, it's kind of the best of two evils, right?
And just a statement. I live in Southwick, and Southwick is a very young community. It has developed into a very young community. We are concerned about our children. I hear you all and the developer keep speaking about the solar farms, but the trucking companies and the truck traffic is more of a concern with Southwick.
Right, and so this allows us, by us maintaining control, that it allows us some control as far as what goes in there also, right? From an industrial standpoint, we have some control over that. To your point, if they de-annex, we have no control. And so, I hope when we're sitting up here and you think, oh, you guys just want to approve a solar farm, our whole intent is to protect you as much as we can. Wholeheartedly, that's kind of why I'm here, and that's why we've been negotiating with the developers, and to try to get them to develop something that is least impactful on you guys as possible, right?
And I just want to piggyback on that. I think that's why the removal of them off is so important, because of the impact that would have had. I think by removing that entrance there, we'll have a tremendous benefit to the proposal, because now all the traffic is going out on Sauk Trail. Hopefully a lot of it's going to 57, or it's going east. But you talked about the truck use and all that. I know the Plan Commission and we've been fighting to limit what type of facilities go there. So the industrial uses, there isn't this high intensity warehouses where there's trucks all the time, trailer parking. We've prohibited that to improve or reduce the amount of trucks. So we've really been working hard, the Plan Commission, the staff, have been working hard to minimize that to the best we can. So we are very conscious of what you're talking about, and I'm trying our best. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I was just going to say,
Mr. Pisha.
I think was touched upon too, is the dilemma that we have is that Sauk Trail and Harlem are neither one of those roadways are controlled by the Village of Frankfort.
Right.
So the issue with truck traffic that's going to be on Laraway Road, because of all the development in Joliet and in the access to I-57, that's again why Will County Highway Department is talking about expanding Laraway Road all the way from Harlem all the way to the west. It's going to be a 5-lane cross-section, and part of that is to take into consideration the amount of traffic that is on the road right now and what they're going to do with it. But I think obviously the board has been concerned about trucks on Sauk Trail on Laraway Road, but we don't control it. That's the Will County Highway Department, and again, Cook County Highway Department controls Harlem Avenue.
Thank you. Is there any other nuances we want to discuss before we start going through the motions? No? Trustee Petro? No? Trustee Ledden?
Oh, you guys kind of beat up my motion, so.
Yeah, we might have to just remove it and start over. I don't know.
I can read the whole thing again.
Trustee Speria, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Rigoni?
No, just one comment. I'd like to thank, I think some of my fellow trustees had mentioned the number of emails and so forth that came out. I did respond back, and I had the opportunity to speak to a number of residents. I gave them my phone number, and they did call me, and that was probably the most beneficial. So I do appreciate everything that was sent, emailed. As you can see, I've kind of dissected this, tried to make sure that we were crossing off as many of the exceptions that we could to ensure that we're doing our best. So I want to just take, even coming here, I want to take a moment to thank everyone for their comments. It causes us to pause, which is necessary. As you can see, I think we have a mess of our papers going through everything. So I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second.
We would need a motion to amend.
Okay.
And I want us to be clear, I have 6 conditions here, but
Oh.
let's restate those conditions.
Okay.
So motion to amend, second to amend, any discussion on those conditions, and then we would vote on the motion as amended.
Okay. So do we have to state the amendments before we get the motion, or we motion second then amend?
We'll need a motion to amend, and then let's state those conditions.
Okay.
And then a second on that motion to amend.
Okay.
We'll vote on the motion to amend.
Okay. So do I have a motion to amend?
I'll make a motion to amend.
I'll second.
So, Chief.
And then if we can restate those 6 conditions, trustee Rigoni, if you have them, or I wrote them down.
How about I read them and you just double check me?
That'd be great.
Okay. The first one is on page 2, where it says that shall be permitted, relating to the fencing, shall be permitted a minimum 20 setback from any front yard. Removal of that, striking that statement,
Striking A2.
striking
A3.
A3.
A3, okay.
Striking A3. We're just going to kind of go through them. On, which would be A10, would be requiring the transition yard on the south property line of proposed Lot 3, the detention area, abutting the unincorporated Cook County.
And I believe the consensus was to preserve existing landscaping.
Yes, the question is should we attach that to number 6 at the bottom, where it talks about okay, I get what you're saying. So then we'll say, and preserve the existing landscaping along the south property line. Okay? Then the next would be number 12. Number 13. We'll amend it to say the permitted special uses proposed for lots 12, 14, and 2 through 14, and Lot 1. Exhibit C and D attached herein shall be reviewed by legal, subject to the removal of this, I'm sorry. Subject to legal review. And then amend Exhibit D to make any solar array a special use.
Is that specific to solar array, or is that going to be utility facilities?
I believe, I don't have it in front of me.
Currently states utility facilities including solar array fields and required
Correct.
support equipment.
Correct, that is the one I'm referring to.
Removal of that entire statement.
Put it as a special use.
Okay.
Then I think we should insert it here, would be the removal of MHOF. So it would be 14, adding on removal of MHOF. Okay. And then I think we discussed at the end of item 6, which talks about all the tree preservation and refers to all the right-of-ways, that maybe final landscaping shall include plant unit counts for all those trees identified for preservation, along with the preservation method, and if unable to plant within right-of-way, plant on-site.
So the 6 I had.
Okay, thank you.
So what's before the board is a vote on the motion to amend.
So we have a motion and a second, so call a vote.
Trustee Rigoni?
Yes.
Trustee Borelli?
Yes.
Trustee Petro?
Yes.
Trustee Rossi?
Yes.
Trustee Ledden?
Yes.
Trustee Savaria?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. So motion.
Amended motion, and now we go back to the main motion.
Okay, so now we'll ask for a motion to approve the amended motion.
Right, so we
Right.
have a motion and a second on that already.
We
So
do.
now we'll go to vote for.
So we just go to the vote?
As amended.
Okay.
So we're voting for A as amended, right?
We're voting on the
A
amended
as
motion.
amended.
As amended.
All right. Trustee Borelli?
Yes.
Trustee Petro?
Yes.
Trustee Rossi?
Yes.
Trustee Ledden?
Yes.
Trustee Savaria?
Yes.
Trustee Rigoni?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That's the first motion, so can go back to Trustee Ledden for the second motion.
All right. So this would be motion B, the preliminary development plan. So the motion before us is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation and approve the preliminary development plan for Frankfort Point in accordance with reviewed plans, public testimony, and findings of fact for the property located at the southeast corner of Harlem Avenue and Sauk Trail, parcel identification number 3131-100-001-0000, and having an address of 7200 Sauk Trail, Richmond Park, Cook County, Illinois 60471, and subject to the following conditions. Number 1 is the preliminary engineering approval, including confirmation from Cook County Department of Transportation for required right-of-way improvements along Harlem Avenue and Sauk Trail, including any path and/or sidewalks as may be conditions of approval by the village. Number 2, the development of the commercial lot, proposed lot number 1, shall comply with all exterior material standards under Article 7, Section A of the zoning ordinance. Number 3, fence screening for proposed Lot 2 along street frontage property lines shall be wood fence as illustrated in the plans. Non-street frontage property lines shall be 8-foot high, black vinyl coated, chain link fence with vinyl slats Screening materials for proposed lots 3 through 12 for outdoor yard storage or security fencing shall be either 8-foot wood or 8-foot composite fencing material along the street frontage and black vinyl coated chain link fencing with slats along the side and rear yards. Number 4, any logistic uses on properties lots 2 through 14 shall have no more than 10 truck docks/bays. Number 5, the predominant exterior colors of all buildings shall reflect neutral earth tone colors or shades of gray. Number 6, applicants for future development of proposed lots 1 and 3 through 12 shall submit a compliant landscape plan in accordance with the village landscape regulations, including meeting the required number of types of trees and shrubs per lot at the time of application for the individual final plan unit development plan. Number 7, applicants for future development of proposed lots 1 and 3 through 12 shall install all plantings in accordance with their approved individual landscape plan upon development of the individual lot. Number 8, applicants for future development of proposed lots 1 and 3 through 12 shall submit colored architectural elevations for staff review at the time of application for final planned unit development approval for each individual lot. Number 9, the property owner and/or the association to be established by the developer shall be responsible for the maintenance of all detention basins and associated plantings on proposed lots 13 and 14. Number 10, the applicant shall submit a revised photometric plan and streetlight standard material speculation sheets to match standards outlined in the Village of Frankfort Engineering Design Standards Exhibit 6A. Number 11, applicants for future development of the commercial lot, proposed lot 1, shall submit a compliant uniform sign plan for the property at the time of application for the individual final planned unit development plan. Number 12, dirt and clay stockpiles resulting from the development of the subject property shall be on the proposed lots 11 and 12 unless otherwise approved by the village, and for reasonable time periods not to exceed 1 year from the date of issuance of the first building permit unless an extension is agreed upon by the Village of Frankfort. The Village of Frankfort, with 10 days advance written notice, shall have the right to draw upon the approved letter of credit to relocate or remove any stockpile which results from the development should they not be placed in the approved location, or if the pile is causing a stormwater drainage problem, or should it not be permitted to remain beyond the time period specified by the village. Number 13, 18 months after the issuance of the first building permit in the subdivision, the property owner and/or developer shall restore any remaining vacant lots to a flattened subgrade in accordance with the approved engineering plan, provide black dirt cover, and seed the lots to establish a maintainable grass cover until such time the lot is built upon. Extensions may be granted through a mutual agreement between the village and the developer/property owner. Number 14, the applicant shall install the required 25-foot transition yard along the east property line of proposed lots 8 through 12 and proposed lot 14, including all required plant units and/or a combination of a fence and required plant units in accordance with the landscape ordinance. Number 15, the applicant shall install the required 25-foot transition yard along the south property line of the proposed lot 12, including all required plant units or a combination of a fence and plant units in accordance with the landscape ordinance. Number 16, and this is the last one, applicant shall prepare and submit for staff review the covenants, conditions, and restrictions documents which may be reviewed by the village board at or prior to its consideration of the final plat of subdivision. Thank you.
Do we need to address MLOF again in this, or no? No? Okay. So is that a motion you're making over there, Trustee Liddon?
Yes, sir, that was my motion.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Rigoni with the second. Any other comments? No? Will the clerk should the roll?
All right. Trustee Petro?
Yes.
Trustee Rossi?
Yes.
Trustee Lennon?
Yes.
Trustee Savaria?
Yes.
Trustee Rigoni?
Yes.
Trustee Borelli?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Go back to Trustee Liddon.
All right, you guys haven't heard from me in a while. So here we go. C, special use permit for utility facility. The motion, which I'm making, is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance granting a special use permit for a utility facility for the property located at the southeast corner of Harlem Avenue and Sauk Trail, parcel identification number 3131-100-001-0000, having an address of 7200 Sauk Trail, Richton Park, Cook County, Illinois 60471. To permit a 49.76 acre commercial solar energy facility on proposed Lot 2 of the preliminary plat of Frankfort Point subdivision, a planned unit development in accordance with the reviewed plans, public testimony, findings of fact, and subject to the following conditions. Number 1, preliminary and final engineering approval. Number 2, final site plan approval. Number 3, final landscape plan approval. Number 4, expansion of or material modification of the utility use without approval of an amended special use permit. Number 5, approval of a final decommissioning plan to include specific conditions upon which decommissioning will be initiated, a specific time frame in which decommissioning will be completed, identification of the party responsible for decommissioning, and language noting that if decommissioning is not completed within the specified time frame, that the Village of Frankfort may draw upon the financial security and perform the necessary decommissioning activities. The decommissioning plan shall include language regarding the dedication of 80-foot of public right-of-way along the south property line of the proposed Lot 2 for roadway and public utility needs for the future redevelopment of proposed Lot 2. Number 6, the project operator of the solar facilities on proposed Lot 2 shall put in place a decommissioning and restoration surety bond that will run the life of the solar facilities and secure future decommissioning of the utility use in a form acceptable to and at the sole discretion of the Village of Frankfort. The decommissioning bond amount shall be estimated by a licensed third-party engineer prior to construction and reevaluated on the 11th anniversary of the commercial operation date of the facility. Decommissioning the solar facility shall occur within 12 months of the abandonment, which is defined as either the end of the useful life of the facility or the lack of operation for a minimum of 12 months. In the event the system is abandoned and/or cessation of activity for a period of 1 year, the Village of Frankfort may issue notice to the project operator indicating their intent to activate the bond if no restorative action occurs within 12 months of such notice. The village may use the decommissioning bond for removal of the system. The project operator of the solar facilities on proposed Lot 2 will provide the Village of Frankfort with a 1-month notice in writing of their intent to decommission the solar array fields. Number 7, reevaluation of the stormwater management plan if the size or type of the solar panel footing changes during the final design process. Number 8, modification of the engineering design plans to include provisions for post-construction site evaluation of stormwater functionality, and if demonstrated inconsistent with the approved stormwater design, the owner shall immediately fund and construct corrective improvements necessary to meet the stormwater management standards of the Village of Frankfort, as determined by the Village of Frankfort. Failure to do so shall result in the automatic termination of the special use permit and trigger decommissioning of the project. Number 9, provision of regular maintenance of any and all fence and any and all landscape beds, trees, shrubs, ground covers, mulch, or otherwise located within the within the landscape transition yards in accordance with generally accepted landscape care standards and any then existing property maintenance code requirements as amended from time to time. Number 10, no off-site solar access rights are granted or implied by the approval of this special use. Number 11, applicant must provide written approval and authorization to construct and connect the proposed facility to the electrical grid before the special use permit is effective. Number 12, execution of an agricultural impact mitigation agreement with the Illinois Department of Agriculture. Number 13, failure to act upon the special use permit within 12 months of the village board's approval results in its automatic revocation unless mutually extended in writing by the applicant and the village board. Number 14, applicant shall provide landscape screening along the north fence line located along the north property line of proposed Lot 2 to screen the utility use and associated fencing from Sauk Trail. Thank you.
And I will second that.
All right, we got a motion from, an extensive motion from trustee Ledden, and then a second from trustee Severia.
Thanks, sir.
Any discussion? Clerk Schubert, call the vote, please.
Trustee Rossi?
Yes.
Trustee Ledden?
Yes.
Trustee Severia?
Yes.
Trustee Ragoni?
Yes.
Trustee Borelli?
Yes.
Trustee Petro?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, and we'll go back to trustee Ledden for the last one.
Thank you. This is a short one. So preliminary plat of Frankfort Point subdivision. So this motion is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation and approve the preliminary plat of Frankfort Point subdivision prepared by Geotech Inc. dated January 12, 2026 and revised February 9, 2026 in accordance with the reviewed plans. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, in this motion, I would just suggest that you also add a condition of the final plat that removal of M off.
We need a motion to amend.
Friendly amendment that your motion includes reflecting the removal of Emhoff Drive.
Yes. So this motion includes an amendment to reflect the removal of Emhoff Drive.
Good. Okay. So we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Clerk Schubert, can you call the vote?
Trustee Ledden? Couldn't remember where I was starting. Trustee Ledden?
Yes.
Trustee Severia?
Yes.
Trustee Ragoni?
Yes.
Trustee Borelli?
Yes.
Trustee Petro?
Yes.
Trustee Rossi?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Katie. All right. Next item on the agenda is the mayor's report. Spring on the Green event scheduled for March 22nd. The annual Spring on the Green event will be held on Sunday, March 22nd from noon to 2 p.m. on Brighter Green. Co-sponsored by the Village of Frankfort and the Frankfort Park District, the event will feature a live DJ, kid-friendly games, a balloon artist, and other family-friendly activities. Complimentary hot cocoa and cookies will be provided. For more information, visit the Village of Frankfort or Park District websites. The next item is the Frankfort Police Department will, Coffee with a Cop. The Frankfort Police Department will host its next Coffee with a Cop on Wednesday, April 1st, from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. at Chick-fil-A. This informal event has no agenda or speeches and provides an opportunity for residents to ask questions, share concerns, and get to know the officers who serve their community. I want to send a congratulations to Officer Monreal. On behalf of the Village of Frankfort, we extend our sincere congratulations to Officer Ken Monreal on his retirement. Officer Monreal served the Frankfort Police Department for 23 years. We thank him for his dedicated service to the community and wish him the best in his retirement and future endeavors. And then I want to thank the last item on the agenda, at least, is on behalf of the Village of Frankfort. It's with great pride that we recognize the exceptional accomplishments of Hickory Creek Middle School, once again. Student athletes performed this weekend. Congratulations to Hickory Creek Middle School, the 7th grade girls volleyball team. They completed the three-peat. This is a third consecutive title, and they've gone 70-0 in those 3 years. It's unbelievable. 7-0, 70 wins in a row. Unbelievable. Congratulations, girls. Very special, and we look forward to bringing them here to recognize them at a future board meeting. We also want to send a congratulations to Cardi Ice Richardson, who is the state champ for 126-pound wrestling. So great job. Shout out to Coach Dominic Adamo and his dad Vince. They're fantastic people. In fact, I was looking back at the records. We had Dominic back here 8 years ago when he was at Hickory Creek when he won the state championship. So great family, and it's great for them to now be teaching our students and to become good people and great wrestlers. So great job. I wanted to send a shout out to the Public Works. was up at 4:30 this morning for some reason, and the plows were going. So by the time I left, our roads were great. If you left Frankfort, it wasn't so great. So great job with the Public Works. And, I just want to bring up Frankfort Point and thank everybody that's been so involved in that. That is such a difficult, complicated situation. I'm very grateful for all the feedback I received from all the residents. Every email, I tried my best to respond to everyone. I'm listening to you. It makes us all work harder when we get comments like that, and I really do appreciate it. Huge shout out to the staff who worked tremendously through that, especially to Lainey Hannon, who's in her first year, and it's like kind of being called up to the Game 7 of the World Series, and she just did a fantastic job handling a lot of this. Appreciate the board support. Trustee Rigoni's been unbelievable, so just thank you all around to everyone involved with that, and again, I think it's the best choice for our community. With that, we'll go to board comments. Clerk Schubert?
All right. As you said, it's great to have so many residents here. You're all invited back on April 6th for our next meeting, Village Board, and it will also be the Committee of the Whole meeting. And currently, I believe we may have the Lincoln Way East cheer team here to celebrate more championships. So that's all I had tonight.
Great. Next, we'll go to Trustee Rossi.
Oh, wow.
Little love for the left side.
Again, I just want everybody to understand that I know we're not going to make decisions that makes everybody happy all the time, but we have to do what we think is best for the entire village. This was a tough one. It really was, and I can't reiterate again that we felt having control of the project was much better interest for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rossi. Trustee Pedro?
Thank you, Trustee Bradley. I just want to echo a lot that was said tonight. I read every single email that came through. I appreciate the residents' comments, perspectives, and it really does help us understand the project impacts and make a better project than existed to begin with. I also want to thank our Plan Commission, who spent a lot of time getting this project to where it is today, and my fellow board members to getting it as best we could tonight.
Thank you. Trustee Rigoni?
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment that as part of this process, a lot of people reached out, and in the conversations, a lot of the questions or comments or concerns were they were part of this project, but they weren't. They were bike trails and sidewalks and access and so forth. So I want to encourage everyone that you don't have to wait for a project to come right next to your house to tell us about these pedestrians. You live there, you are there every day. That is your area. So you have our emails. Email me. I would love to have those conversations with you. As I always say, the only promises that I make is that I will listen to you and I will do my best to get the answers. But just don't wait till a project, because there are many of these great conversations that I've had with residents in the area that are projects that we should probably start considering, working with different entities to kind of start putting them forward. So that's all my comment I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rigoni. Trustee Ledden?
Wow, really mixing things up. So, first of all, I would I'm sure you've all heard my voice enough tonight, so I'll be brief. So the Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to congratulate him on doing a very fine job, stepping up on, which was a very important issue, and all the work that he's done before that, getting ready for tonight. So I, for one, definitely appreciate it. And I'll just share one thing. When I was on the Plan Commission with Trustee Rigoni, there was a development by Homestead, which ultimately became where the Frankfort Chop House is at. And a lot of residents came out and expressed their concern about something going there and how disruptive it was going to be for them, their kids, everything else, not knowing exactly what was going to go there at that time. Mostly they did not want to drive through going there. But the only reason I bring it up is our work doesn't stop here tonight. We've heard everything that you guys have said. We appreciate you coming out and sharing your thoughts, ones that have said things. We are going to work very hard to get the best result here that we can and have something that hopefully won't be disruptive in any way. I won't go so far as say be something that you're happy with in the future. I don't know, unless you decide to go into the trucking business or something that is in your backyard. But we will try and do our best to make sure that we continue to hear what you say and address those things as they come up. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Severia.
Are you sure?
Last but not least.
I thought this was a one-time I wouldn't have to follow Trustee Lynn, so. First, I want to congratulate Officer Monreal on his retirement and thank him for his service. But I also want to thank my board. You guys did a great job. This was not an easy meeting, and Pro Tem Borelli, you did a fantastic job. And then I want to thank all of you for coming and for your concerns. And again, I think I echo my fellow trustees in saying, you know, it might not be exactly what you guys were looking for, but we do have your best interest in mind. And, you know, we're doing our best to make sure that we're protecting you as much as possible. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Severia. Next item is other business. Is there any other business to come before the board tonight? Hearing none, we'll go to public comments. Would anyone from the public like to make a comment? Okay, the next item is adjournment to executive session, but we are going to skip that because Mayor Ogle is out, and so we'll postpone that to a future meeting, and so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This meeting's adjourned.